Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Leazes podcast. After a pretty dreadful game on the weekend, there's been some news, hasn't there? Finally, I think some other people will say, unfortunately, Steve Bruce has left Newcastle United by mutual consent. Big cheers from Andy in the top corner there. We've got the usual suspects on the podcast today. And we were quite positive, I think, in the last podcast. We're going to be even more positive in this one. Andy, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Mate, I'm absolutely fantastic. I've had a really enjoyable day out with Adam. We've been outside the training ground. I'm getting bits for local TV. It's actually the main story one on Tyne local TV tonight. So, mate, I'm absolutely buzzing.
Oh, I'm buzzing for you, mate. We've got Rob here as well. How you doing, pal?
Yes, I'm good, mate. As you say, there's a lot going on with Newcastle at the minute, which is brilliant. You know, sometimes in the past we'll have these podcasts and all we can talk about is how we lost another game. You know, not only have we got the match to talk about, we've got the owners, the managerial situation. So yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of fun at the minute. Yeah, feeling good.
And another person on the podcast, he's been incredibly busy today as well. It's Adam. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. I was quite tired today, but once the 10:30 hit, that news came out, that woke me up straight out after the training ground. But yeah, it's a glorious day. I'm very happy, and yeah, it's good to be talking about Newcastle now once again.
Of course. So I think the big topic, like we have said, Steve Bruce has left Newcastle United, and I think it's mainly sort of positive reactions in terms of the decision. A lot of people wanted him out. Andy, I'll come to you on this one first. What's your initial reaction to the sacking? I know you've sort of covered the stories about it quite extensively today and in the past weeks as well. So what's your initial sort of thoughts on it?
I think me cheesy grin and rosy cheeks saying off Liam. It's been come for ages, and I mean we've all been calling for it since halfway through last season. To be honest, I forgot he'd been here for 2 years. I think with the fans not being in the ground last year, it didn't really help. But Christ, it's just onwards and upwards now for the club. I think someone like Fonseca, who's got fresh eyes, someone like that coming in now, can really take this club forward with the right investment.
Definitely, and you know we'll talk about new managers a bit extensively. But was that who you reckon would be the next manager for the club?
I think out of the names shortlisted, I think yeah, definitely.
Definitely, and Rob, what do you sort of make of the whole? Well, should we say sacking of Bruce? We don't really know if he's been sacked or if he's just sort of walked on his own.
It's mutual consent, apparently, Ned.
Mutual consent. So, what's your initial reaction to the decision?
I mean, elation, to be honest. I mean, it's so funny, you know, because I've sat here and I've said for a long time that Steve Bruce had to go, and I said we had these conversations before the takeover even went through, and I said, like, even with Ashley in charge, we hadn't won in 6 games and then 7 games. You know, he's won 7 games in 38 games. He's got the worst Premier League record going as a manager. I mean, again, I'm sure. Like, well, I say he's a lovely bloke. He doesn't often come across that way in the interviews. But the point is that things haven't been going well, and regardless of a new owner or not, I think his time was up. It's funny though, because the moment he goes, you start looking back and you go, well, you know, Ashley didn't really give him much support money wise. He hasn't really had the backing that he needed. He did keep us in the Premier League, so it's funny that when he is the manager, I can't wait to get rid of him. As soon as he goes, I go, well, he didn't have the easiest time, but I think it's definitely the right decision. I think it should have happened last week before the Spurs game. And as I say, you know, best of luck to whatever he does next. But I am happy he's not the Newcastle manager anymore.
I think you are echoing a fair few people's thoughts. We'll move on to Adam next. You know, I'm sure you were quite happy with the decision as well, Adam. But, you know, what do you make of, you know, the time that it came? And do you think it maybe should have come a fair bit earlier?
Or should have came 3 years earlier, to be honest, whenever he came in. I mean, the guy's a fraud. It's that simple. I mean, how can you look at this manager and go, oh, well, he's had a tough time in Newcastle? He played every single player out of position. And one was playing centre midfield, so I don't know what's going on there. But, I mean, yes, you can look back in hindsight and go, oh, well, he kept us up to in the pandemic, so yes, maybe he's not too bad. But I remember watching it week in, week out during that lockdown, and I didn't watch the games half the time because I was that depressing to watch. I used to sit live streams and just record the games. I couldn't even do it anymore. I was at the point where I'm sick of watching this team. I go off, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed myself. I mean, yeah, I'm glad he's gone. You can do one for all I care. Palace and Saturday, I'm glad I'm not going all the way down to London to see that clown anymore. You can do one.
I mean, speaking of Crystal Palace, it's very heartfelt, Adam. We love it. I think every little rant you go on, Adam, it's very heartfelt. Speaking of Crystal Palace, though, of course, Graeme Jones is going to be in charge just on an interim basis, so he won't be, the permanent manager, as we know. So he will take charge of the Crystal Palace game. Andy, do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh well.
We lost Andy there. We'll move on to Rob. Do you think it's the right decision to do that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I know that I've sounded like a soft touch there, but I do agree with Adam. Hello again, Andy. But no, I do agree with what Adam's saying, and I do agree that it, as I say, that the first thing I thought the owners would have done would have been to have got rid of Steve Bruce. So the fact that he, did they give him the 1,000th game because they were being nice, or did they do it because they hadn't really got the manager in line yet? I don't think we'll ever know. But what I am glad of is that hopefully Jones can try and, get these players that I think have been underperforming all season and try and work a tune from them. Another thing I think as well, and I'm hoping this happens at the weekend, is at the moment, there is a lot of stick going to Steve Bruce and has been going to Steve Bruce. This weekend, Steve Bruce isn't there anymore. And these players need to go out there and show, it wasn't us. We've been doing all right. It was all Steve Bruce's fault. Because if they go out there this weekend and are useless, again, that's without Bruce. So these guys have to go out there. They have to play well. So I'm even hoping that will give us that little boost this weekend. And then I'm hoping again, when we get to the new manager, that'll also boost the players on as well.
Of course, and I think, when Graeme Jones came in at the back end of last season, there was clearly quite a big change in our form, in the way that we played. We started playing with 4 at the back, I think was the main one. Andy, are you all back? You're good?
I think I am back. I think I am.
Fantastic. So, a couple of players, I know Callum Wilson was quite full of praise for Graeme Jones. I'm sure other players, have been quite full of praise. He had his time with England in the summer as well. Do you think we could maybe snatch a win from this game against Crystal Palace?
Yeah, I think the players are going to be right up for it. I know Palace were unlucky not to come away with a win in Arsenal the other night, but Graeme Jones is our attacking coach, and I think that's the way we're going to play it, and that's the way we've been screaming for this team to play for the last God knows however long. I think you're going to have the likes of Maximin, Miggy can come right into it. I think Willock will be the man of the match. I think this weekend, I think Willock's going to get played where he likes, sitting on the edge of the box and getting in on the end of these crosses. I think 2-0 Newcastle. I'm giving an early prediction.
Early prediction, yeah. Adam, I'll come to you next. We want to go back to Steve Bruce once again. I think we all know that his time had definitely come after the Spurs game, but when do you reckon it was 100%, there was 100% no way back for Steve Bruce at the club? We could say as soon as he joined, but was there a certain point at a certain part of the season where there was just no way back, and Steve Bruce, with new owners, just wouldn't be able to claw his way back in
yeah. The second to take what happened, once it happened, that was it. Steve Bruce had no future at this football club. It was just a matter of time when they were going to do it. But yeah, I think they did give him the 1,000 game just to be nice to him, because I honestly think Steve Bruce will retire now. I don't think he'll go to another job. He came out already in the Telegraph and said, I've been struggling mentally with this football club, fans being against me the full time. He can think what he wanted with him, but I feel like it has taken his toll, and I just believe that £8 million he's getting in now, he's just not going to do anything else. He's just going to live off the rest of his life, probably go off to Portugal again. He'll go off, have a lovely time there. And I mean, that's it with Steve Bruce. The second the new owners came in, that was his time up. And in terms of the weekend, though, obviously we said about the players step up. I think Graeme Jones needs to step up as well, because yes, obviously he's not the manager, but still, though, when Steve was playing players out of position, when we were playing bad week in, week out, again, there wasn't any improvement done, so you got to question him as well. But yeah, I feel like now is his chance to obviously step up and make his mark, but you will have to step up otherwise. See you there.
Do you think he'll be fighting for a job in this case? So maybe it's not the managerial job, maybe it's just a coaching job for whoever the next manager could be?
Yes, because who the next manager will be? You imagine you bring your own team of sort of coaches in. So, yeah, I think Graeme Jones will fight for it. But the thing with Graeme Jones is that if obviously you lose a Newcastle job, he's got an England job waiting there for him. So you got to obviously think about that going through his head. But yeah, no matter what happens to him, he's going to be sorted. But yeah, I believe he will want to step for Newcastle, but it's just a matter of if he will or not.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's his boyhood club. I wouldn't be surprised if we come out with a win, definitely. Rob, will come to you next. Of course, I think the coaching staff are definitely gone, but do you think Graeme Jones does have a future at the club?
Well, I think the one thing Graeme Jones has definitely done, and I think that the Euros has massively helped him. He's kind of made a name for himself outside of Newcastle as well. So I think with a lot of managers and who basically work with the same staff around them, regardless of what team they move to. Graeme Jones obviously came in that little bit later. He came in on his own, really. He wasn't part of Steve Bruce's backroom staff. So I think the guys who Steve Bruce did bring in, I presume they're probably waiting to kind of get their notice. But I think because Graeme was kind of separate, then he may well have his own little deal on the side. And as I say, I think any new manager who comes in may well just go, you know what, I want a fresh start. I don't want any existing staff in. But I do think that Jones has kind of built his own little reputation with England, and I think that probably won't be overlooked. I know that if I was a manager going in and he was someone there, I would definitely want to listen to what he has to say and see about keeping him around as well.
I think we've got to look now towards who could come in next. In the odds-on favourite, I'm just looking at the odds now, is Paulo Fonseca. So he's the odds-on favourite, of course. Nearly went to Tottenham at the start of the season as well, but that fell through. Was previously the manager of Roma, previously the manager of Porto as well. It didn't go very well there for him. Andy, do you think he would be a good fit for Newcastle United, or do you think we should look elsewhere? Maybe a manager who could just steady the ship first?
No, I think he's a brilliant option to definitely look at. There's a reason why the club is, well, I wouldn't say big, Tottenham. There's a reason why they were looking at him to bring him in. It's because he has that Champions League experience with Shakhtar Donetsk, Braga as well. He's been at Porto. He has been at these big European teams. And if we're looking to get into these positions where we're going to be back in European competitions, realistically, where we deserve to be and where we probably would have been if Ashley never had touched the club, I think he will be the right man to take us forward in that aspect. But is it too early? Do we need someone that's going to come in and, I hate the term, steady the ship and just keep us up this season and then move forward in the summer? And I know Eddie Howe's been mentioned a lot, and he definitely would be a safe option. But I think the way we start the season, I think it is about risk taking now. So yeah, Fonseca would be the man to bring in for me.
If Fonseca weren't to happen, there's other sort of odds-on favourites as well. There's Lucien Favre, Eddie Howe, like you mentioned. Roberto Martinez, do you think he would leave Belgium to come to Newcastle? I'm seeing a collective shake of heads. I personally wouldn't want him. I think after seeing his stint at Everton, I don't think he was amazing. I don't think he's even done that well for Belgium. Adam, you shook your head as well. What do you reckon?
No, I can't see him dropping down to Newcastle. But in terms of your managers, obviously the guy on about before, never heard of him in my life, never watched him before. But just the fact Tottenham wanted him, now I want him just to stick it to them because I can't stand him. But, yeah, in terms of our managers, though, I've heard a lot about Eddie Howe. I don't want him, I'll be honest. I felt like we could have got him with Mike Ashley in charge of brand new owners, especially the richest owners as well. So, yeah, lovely bloke, I'm sure. Definitely better than Bruce, but I don't want him in Newcastle. I don't think he's good enough to take the club forward. In terms of options, though, just anyone really. Anyone that is capable of getting a team to European football, and a team that obviously has the experience and can spend money well. So that's what I want to look for. But, I mean, there's so many options out there, so it could be anyone. But, yeah, definitely a big fan if they're the guy from Porto on about before.
And to be fair, we could sign anyone if we wanted to. It's just if they wanted to come. Rob, what do you make of all the managerial talk? We've already started the recruiting process, so I'm sure we're talking to Fonseca. I'm sure we're talking to a couple of other managers who are shortlisted. But who would you like to see come into Newcastle?
Oh, I mean, it's a tough one, and I mean, I definitely agree with what Adam said earlier. You know, before the takeover, we had a little short list of Eddie Howe and Lampard, and we're going, who would we rather have? And suddenly the takeover goes through, and the list goes to about 100 names, and you're looking down this list and going, wow, I'd love to have one of them. And then now someone comes over and goes, what about Eddie Howe? You're like, oh, you know, I wouldn't have minded him a week and a half ago, but now I'm looking at Rodgers and Gerrard and all these guys, and I'm thinking I'd much rather have one of them. Now, the problem is, obviously, is a lot of these guys who are linked with us have already got clubs. So now we're then, that list of 100 has slowly whittled its way down to now about 5 players. And that was pretty much why Lampard and Eddie Howe were on it in the first place, was because they were guys who didn't already have a club. I mean, of the guys who've been spoken about, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak for them, but I think it's just been tough timing. If this had happened in the summer, I think some of these managers who were already at a club may well have walked away for a new option. But it's going to be hard to be over like 8 games in the season to just sack their club off and just come and go for us. You know, it's not Bruce did it when he moved, but it's not a move that most managers like to make. You know, to basically screw their own team to come somewhere else. For me, the one I liked the most was Rodgers, just because we've seen him play with lesser sides like Swansea, bringing them up. And we've also seen him play in the higher games like Leicester in the Champions League. So he kind of has a bit of experience from both. And then again, with the foreign managers, I'm looking really short term at the minute. I'm just thinking, if you can just get us to finish 17th this season and we can just start afresh in the summer where we can actually spend some proper money and do it properly, I would be tempted to take it. And I think with the foreign manager to come in and have a relegation dogfight within the first 3 seconds might be a little bit unknown. So to answer your question, I don't know.
It's still up in the air, isn't it? But definitely Fonseca is the odds-on favourite. And just whilst you guys were talking there, I googled why Tottenham didn't actually want to sign Fonseca as the manager. And according to an interview in The Telegraph, Fonseca said his move to Spurs was sunk because Patrici, I think that's the director of football at Spurs, wanted a more defensive manager. So in this case, it would have been Nuno Espirito Santo. If he did get appointed as a Newcastle manager, Andy, I'll come to you on this one. How weird is it going to be to see more attacking football getting played?
Attacking football?
I know. Can you believe it?
What? I can't remember the last time we played attacking football. It's been that long. And I think it is the perfect appointment. Like the way we've gone on about for weeks, our strength at the minute is our attack. We can't defend to save our lives, and we showed that in the Tottenham game again when we're first 10 minutes we were flying. I think we were playing Graeme Jones ball and then moved the Brucey ball, and you saw what happened there. So I think someone that's going to exploit the talents of Maximin, Wilson, Almiron, Willock, even maybe Ryan Fraser. Maybe there is still a decent footballer somewhere deep inside of that 5'3" man, but we don't know.
And just sort of moving on from this as well. So Steve Bruce talked to, I can't remember who he spoke to, but he mentioned that he did get quite a bit of abuse from fans. And Adam, this is something that you mentioned. You don't have a lot of sympathy for him, but you know, both himself, you know, members of his family, things like that, they receive death threats. And obviously it's never something that you want to hear about. And it's quite a shame to hear that it's happening within the fan base as well. You know, we weren't fans of him, but you never really want to wish death upon, you know, a football manager. At the end of the day, he's doing his dream job. Rob, you know, you heard what Steve Bruce said after he'd left the club. What did you make of his comments, and just, you know, what do you think of the fans as well who have been saying these sort of things to him?
Well, again, you know, this is where the line is drawn. You know, we're in a podcast today having a chat about Steve Bruce, but at the end of the day, what we are talking about is the football, and what we want to do is win games. I think the minute it turns that personal, and people are doing that kind of thing, there really is no room for it in football, and it's definitely not something anyone likes to know about and wants to hear about. So it's very disappointing. But at the same time, you know, that there is a line, and I think it is fair for fans to have their say when things aren't going their way. You know, Steve Bruce has done his, you know, normally when a manager gets the sack or moves on, they'll go off quietly into the distance, and you might hear from them again in a year or two's time. Steve Bruce has chosen to go immediately to do his own presser to basically fight back at the fans, and he's You know, he's in his right to do that, but it felt a little bit like I've gone now. Oh, no one ever wanted us this. No one ever wanted us here. No one ever wanted us to win. Steve, if you were winning every game, we wouldn't have been asking you to go. You know, he's taking it. He's taking it personally. You know, nothing I've ever said against Steve Bruce has ever been personal. At the end of the day, I don't think he's getting the most out of the squad. If we were finishing mid-table, I would be happy. And he has kept us in the Premier League, and he has had his hand tied behind his back with Mike Ashley. But at the end of the day, I think some of these players are drastically underperforming, and that's why we want a new manager. It's nothing against him. As they say, I'm sure he is a nice bloke, but I do think some of the decisions he makes are strange. You know, he basically has a go at the fans on a weekly basis in the interviews. You know, so he's making it personal with the fans. He's saying to us, "Oh, well, you never wanted us to win," and then isn't happy when he gets it the other way. So, you know, it's why it's been tough. Not only have we been losing games, but he makes it tough for the fans to back him as well with that kind of stuff.
Of course, he received stick from day one. I'm just reading this tweet from Keith Downey that was earlier today, and he said that, you know, the fact it was mutual consent showed that Steve Bruce probably did actually have, you know, enough of the abuse, enough of the job, and maybe he did want to go. Adam, I think, like, we've all been quite vocal with, you know, what we thought about Steve Bruce. What do you sort of make of some of the abuse that, you know, he's received? And maybe, I think, in the future, could people maybe be a bit softer on managers, not just in a Newcastle sense, but just like in a footballing sense as well?
Well, I think with Steve Bruce, I mean, I don't want people to think that Newcastle fans just been horrible, because every football club's like this. Everyone's got these horrible fans in the fan base. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But I don't want to make this about me either, but like, even me as a content creator, you get abuse every single day. It's just how it works, unfortunately, and you kind of just got to get on with it. Mm-hmm. I don't blame Steve Bruce for coming out and deflecting it, because, again, that's something I've personally done. I get his frustration, but, I mean, he was an awful manager. It's that simple, and his time has passed. And in terms of the mutual consent, though, of him getting contracted out of the club, I mean, I'll be honest, I feel like Jonas just went to him, listen, we'll give you £8 million, you agree to that, and that's kind of mutual consent. I don't think it's actually like him wanting to leave. I just feel like Jonas are like, we'll give you your money, just go on your way, and we'll not announce that you've been sacked, really. But I hope he had a good life, I guess. But in terms of Newcastle, I never want to see him at this football club again.
Not even as like a little ambassador role, or even just at the games? No, nothing at all. No. Andy, you're shaking your head as well. Are you sort of the same? Are you quite indifferent?
Yeah, I think we've done our time with Bruce, haven't we? I think we've served our time. That's it. Just onwards and upwards now.
It does feel like the end of a jail sentence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In regards to some of the abusive comments that he said he's received, though, what do you make of them? And obviously the people that have said these things as well.
I think it's ridiculous. I think, obviously, I'm aware the abuse has gone there, and I think everyone's kind of seen it happen. But if we're talking abuse that came from our fans, I just want to quickly make a note on it, because I think for the fact it's happening in 2021, the fact that one of our fans has decided it's a good idea to throw a Nazi salute up at the Tottenham fans at the weekend, I think is absolutely disgusting. I think it's show racism, the red card, or kick it out, trying to help Newcastle find this supporter, and I hope they do, and I hope he enjoys his lifetime ban, because it's absolutely disgusting. Yeah,
there's a picture of it. It's clear as day. People are asking for context. It is really clear as day. You don't need anything else for it. And I'm glad that there was a statement brought out as soon as possible. But it's such a shame to see that it has happened at St James's Park, because, you know, to our memory, you know, we've not seen anything come out like this, and the fact that we have had to bring out a statement, it is really quite a shame. And obviously, you know, thanks for bringing that up, mate, because, you know, it is really such a shame that the club have had to make that statement. Adam, what do you make of the statement that the club brought out as well? Because, you know, you never like to see anything like that at the club, do you?
Oh, no, again, it's just stupid, really. Everyone knows what Nazi salute is, well, apart from being Hennessy, but everyone else knows what it is. I mean, yeah, it's just ridiculous, really. What's even the point? Like, I don't understand why he's done it in the first place. Like, I don't get the correlation between Tottenham and a Nazi salute. But
it's because Tottenham are of Jewish descent. I think I'm not sure if I'm 100% right on that, but I think I might be.
Again, though, like, how minuscule is that? Like, what is the point?
Yeah.
You know you're going to get a lifetime ban for it. You know for a fact someone's going to record it or someone's going to spot it. And I mean, Like, how stupid is that? It's that easy. Like, how stupid is it? I mean, yeah, enjoy your ban. That's it, really.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, you never want to like blame stewards or anything for not doing anything at the time, but you see in the photo there was a steward there. Maybe they did do something straight afterwards. But Rob, will come to you on this. Do you reckon there was anything that could have been done at that moment to stop it or to kick them out the stadium, anything like that?
Well, again, it's. I mean, this is the problem across. You know, you could go the world. You know, this is something that's going on, and these guys aren't football fans. You know, that's the difference. You know, Newcastle fans get painted with the same brush of this or any fan. You know, like hoodlums at an away game or whatever. You know, we are there genuinely to sit down, enjoy the football, or away game, stand up and join the football. Yes, you might have a few drinks. Yes, sometimes you might have a few too many, but it's all in good spirits and everyone's there for a good time. But there's always that minority of people who aren't there for a good time, that are there for a reason, and that reason is not to enjoy the football, not to support. You know, that was a huge day for us. You know, getting down early. The drums outside, you know, the cheering, the people. The Shearer's bar was busier than I've ever seen it before. But before a game, you know, it was so good, and you just it's hard to fathom why someone would go there and do that kind of thing. So it is upsetting to hear. And in terms of trying to stop it there and then at the time, again, you know, it's trying to police the games better. It's trying to have more staff on hand. You know, a lot of these stewards, you know, they're getting paid, you know, not a whole lot of money to be there, really. You know, it's a once in a 2 week job, and maybe they're from an agency, and are they going to go over to a bloke who they don't know who might, you know, go have a go at them? You know, it's really tough to police it. I think it needs to be genuine police officers. But that's why it's great that the stadiums have these cameras who can catch these people. And retrospective stuff can still be brought in for it.
Of course, and you know, you mentioned maybe he's having a bit more staff on hand. I think it's also appropriate to address what happens during the game as well. Of course, you know, once again, fair play to Regulion and Eric Dyer for pointing this out. A fan suffered cardiac arrest during the game. Thankfully, he's all right. He's in hospital now. He is on the mend, but. You know, it was scary. Adam, I'll come to you on this one first because I know you were at the game. What was the sort of vibe from around the ground? Was there quite a bit of commotion going on, and you know, quite a bit of obviously because you won't really know what's going on until the announcement was made. Was there quite a bit of uncertainty as well? Yeah,
it was very uncomfortable to watch the game, especially after that. I feel like the atmosphere did die down from both sets of fans after the incident. I mean. Yeah, obviously a massive respect to Regulon and Dyer because they instructed the referee as far as getting to defibrillate all the time, which did save someone's life. So that's the most important part. Yes, the football was awful. I'm not going to make any excuses, but that's the most important part that obviously fans get home all right. I mean, yeah, it was really uncomfortable to watch. I literally left like 15 minutes earlier. I was like, I don't want to watch any more of this game. Like, it really did hit hard. But yeah, that's the important part though when we move on. But yeah, I mean, that was just a really obviously sad moment during the game.
Of course, and Andy, come to you on this one next. Do you think there should be more defibrillators around the ground as well? Because obviously the players had to run all the way to the dugout to find one. It's been things that have been petitioned for, you know, a long time, but nothing's really been done. Surely they need to put a defibrillator in every concourse now.
Yeah, absolutely. Funny enough, I've just been listening to in the past week the Fabrice Muamba podcast he did with Happy Hour, and he's obviously talking about the tragic thing that happened to him. And I mean, look, if you're gonna have a heart attack, and St James's is probably, you would have thought, is one of the safest places to have it with the RVI right behind you, but there does need to be more access to defibrillators. It's just that you shouldn't have to run over to the other side of the pitch and then get someone to sprint across with one. I mean, thank God there's been A&E doctors and people that knew how to do CPR around them. So, yeah, I think 120% there needs to be more defibrillators and grounds.
Without a doubt, and you know, you've got to applaud the people who reacted quickly as well. The two, I believe they're NHS doctors. You know, without them two people, they might not have, you know, left the game alive. You know, it is as bad as it is to say. So, you know, very, very well done to them as well. We'll move on though, and we will just preview the the next game before finishing up the podcast. So, of course, it's Crystal Palace. Rob, I'll come to you on this one first. What changes would you make in comparison to the Tottenham game for this game?
Well, as I say, one of the big things we hoped for at the weekend against Spurs was that really the atmosphere was going to really try and get something out of these players, and it definitely did. I mean, the first 10 minutes we were electric. The problem was that gas tank ran out far too quickly, and we just got annihilated for the last 60 minutes at least. It's great that Wilson's back. I think the fact that he can play up front, the fact that he scored a goal this weekend is brilliant for us. I mean, this is the thing, and as I mentioned earlier on, we have got rid of the manager, but the players are still the same. We are still going to have to play a very similar team. Graeme Jones may well have the chance over the next couple of days to try and implement a couple of little changes, but really he hasn't got time to completely change and turn around the style of play. He hasn't got the ability to change any of the players. All he can really do is try and give them a bit of a boost, try and put a bit of a change the ethos of what the players are thinking before they get out there. And as I say, if I was a player on that pitch this Saturday, my biggest thing would be Steve Bruce had all this flack. We need to go out there and show that it wasn't our fault. It was Steve Bruce's fault. If they go out there and play useless this Saturday again, people are just going to turn around and go, you know what it is? It's the players as well. It's not just Bruce. We've been blaming Bruce for a while now. And don't get me wrong, I think Palace is going to be a tough game. I think Vieira has made this team look decent. They were unlucky not to get the win against Arsenal last weekend. And I'm not going to say I think we're going to go there and stuff Palace, but I definitely think we'll have a better chance now that we've left Graeme Jones in charge. And I would be tempted to take a draw, to be fair. But I'll hope for more, though.
Hope for more, of course. We'll get a score prediction from you as well.
I'll go what I've said 1-1. I think it could well be a tight game. We haven't got the best record in recent years. I've been at Palace a fair few times in recent years, and we have never done too great. So as I say, I think 1-1 would be all right. But again, we need our first win of the season, and we need it quick. So if I can do it, I'll take it.
Without a doubt. Andy, I'll come to you next. Just looking at the table,
Yep.
A win in this next game would mean we go to the high rank of 17th. Yay. But what do you think needs to be done to make sure we do secure a win against Crystal Palace on Saturday?
Play attacking, which is something we're ready to. Look, we're short against. I honestly thought we were going to batter Tottenham in that first 10 minutes, but you were fantastic. We went forward. We looked threatening, and I think you just bang Miggy, Wilson, Willock, and Maximin up top. Thank God Shelby can't play because of that stupid red card he got. Who knows? Even maybe give his bench spot to a youth player. How long has it been since? It's been since Matty Longstaff, and then I know Ellie Anderson got a little bit of a look in towards the back end of last season. But how long has it been since we brought one of these youth players up? Dwight Gale's shown he can't do anything. So why not? Adam Wilson's been at the club for years. Why not give him a little 10-minute cameo at the end of the game if we're needing someone to maybe go and get a goal? I'm guilty. I can't say I've seen much of the under-23s play, but he looks like he's banging in goals every time he plays. So why not give someone like him a go? But I think if we do come out and Graeme Jones has us in an attacking setup, I think I said 2-0 earlier, and I'm going to stick by it.
2-0. It's you might not have gone to as many youth games. I know someone who has, though. He's in the bottom right corner of the screen. It's Adam. If there were any youth players to maybe score on the bench or even start in this next game against Palace, who do you reckon it would be?
Dylan Stevens is the only one that's half decent. The rest of them are just not going to play for the main team. It's just how it is. But I don't want to rely on youngsters because we are in the mud at the minute, so we need the experienced players to take us out. I feel like giving these kids a chance is going to put a lot of pressure on them. But in terms of Palace, though, they're unbeaten at home. They were 1-1 and drew 3 so far this season. In terms of Vieira, I thought he'd be an awful pipe at first, but I'm really impressed by him so far. He has kicked the team on. And in terms of us going down there, I mean, the defence has to turn up. We have got the worst defence in this league. I've said this every single week. Norwich are drew no back-to-back now. We're still conceding a shed load of goals. It's not good enough. We've conceded upwards of 20 goals in 8 games or so. It's a disgrace. And that's the one thing that's going to cost us games. And now we've got to attack and just try and score more goals opposition because the defence can't defend. So, yeah, that's our biggest problem at the minute. And it probably will cost us the game if we are unable to take chances because that back line would not keep a clean sheet to save a life. But in terms of scorelines, though, 3-1 Newcastle, why not? Just go for it.
Ambitious, I like it. Have we kept a clean sheet this season at all?
The cup game was a 0 against Burnley. The
We've
game
conceded the most goals in the Premier League.
We've conceded those goals, but yeah, that cup game. I'll be honest, mate. I wiped that from my memory.
Yeah, I forgot that was a thing, and I was happy I forgot that was a thing. I took my girlfriend to our first ever Newcastle game, and
dear.
I couldn't even promise her that it got better, but now it actually might. So, yeah, but I've got tickets for the Chelsea game, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice. So I'm very jealous. I might see if I can get the Leicester game. I think is it in November, the Leicester game?
It is. It's got moved to a Sunday now. It's on telly. Yeah.
Ooh, might be able to get myself there then. But what do you say, 3-1? I'll go with, I think it'll be 2-2. I think it'll be one of them sort of games where, oh God, I was going to say the entertainers there. Where it'll just be, we're just going to, I don't know, right? It's the 80s again. We're just going to try and score as many goals as possible and just not care about defence or anything like that. 2-2. And, Graeme Jones, I hope he does stay on, but it does look like Francesco will come in with a bit more attacking football, which is, of course, what we like to see, and maybe some more defensive calamities. But yes, that is going to be the end of the podcast. Thanks so much for everyone who tuned in. It's been once again quite a positive one at the start, talking about the sacking of Steve Bruce. I mean, everyone will have their opinions, but they're never always right, I know. But yes, thanks so much everyone for tuning into the podcast. Thanks Andy, Adam, and Rob for also coming on. We'll be back next week to cover the Palace game and, of course, looking towards the rest of the season, hopefully with a new manager as well. But yes, thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.